So, did you make contact with aliens? Were you taken to another planet, to a mothership? How did they communicate with... Can you tell me what they look like? Can you tell me how many of them there were? Were you given food?
But the teachers are alive. They're not books. They are the very living essences of nature itself.
What a strange person.
Unbelievably powerful supercomputer that's running our reality, and we don't have a clue as to how to operate it.
So when maybe you or somebody else creates an AGI system and you get to ask her one question, what would that question be?
What's outside the simulation?
Say in your mind, say to yourself, I am more than my physical body, because I am more than physical matter. I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world.
Welcome to Lighting the Void.
All broadcasting from New York, upstate near the Great Lakes, it's Lighting the Void, and I'm your host, Joe Roop. Welcome to the show. We are live on KTLK Digital Broadcasting, the Fringe FM. And I don't know if you guys are watching the debate or not, but it's a soap opera. Not worth it, I'm telling you, it's not worth it. It's all a charade. We're going to talk about, some real stuff tonight, even though it seems unreal, little paranormal stuff. With returning guest, Timothy Renner is here with us. Don't forget to check out the Fringe Fest at thefringefest.com. And congratulations to all of you guys that won tickets. You can win tickets still, all the way up to the event if you call in at 1-800-588-0335. That's the call-in number to the show. Save that, put it in your phone, put it in your pocket. Also, the call to listen line, 701-719-3971. That is fixed, thanks to a very good listener who called in the other night during the show and wanted to know what happened to it. So we got that back. It's all back. It's all good. So, yeah, make sure you go to thefringefest.com, sign up. You can get 15% off by putting in the code word Joe, or you can get 15% off by signing up to our newsletter, The Outsider, at thefringe.fm. If you want to support this show, you can go to patreon.com/LTV radio. That's how you can support or send a one-time donation. We got some stuff that we do in there for our patrons, and God love them. They've been super patient with me while we've been upgrading all this equipment and preparing for the event. So I'm going to have to do some extra stuff for you guys. You know how that goes. You know how I am, right? I'm always scrambling to get stuff done. But I got people that are helping, really cool people that are helping, and yeah, I just can't be more grateful right now, especially the people that are helping with the event, the people that are helping with the articles and the newsletters, and it means a lot, really, because there's no way with everything that's going on right now that I could have done this alone anymore. I just can't. And give a big shout out to a few people, actually. I just don't know who wants to be talked about and who don't. You know how that is. Some people don't want to be recognized for some reason, but I believe they should. We do have some new patrons for the show, though. And I don't know your first name. Like, if you use a weird name in Patreon, which I don't care, that's fine. You can do whatever you want. I guess I can just give you a shout out, like, and use that name. But I'm trying to pull the list up because I know we got some new ones here. Q7, thank you for signing up. And you know what else you can do too is you can sign up for like a year and you save 15%, or I think it's like 15 or 20%. So instead of paying whatever you would pay for 12 months, they give you a discount if you just buy an annual membership, and you're going to get all the like, tarot readings, the astral journal, the Q&A. It just depends on what package you get. There's some like swag that you can get to when you get to a certain level package. So it's pretty cool. And then we're going to start loading up commercial free archives in there as well. But we're not going to go back 600 and something episodes. I mean, maybe down the road when we can afford to pay somebody to do that. But we're probably just going to start out from where we are and then just throw those in there. That's my idea to do. But don't know if I'm going to follow through with it yet. Because after the event, we're going to be doing all kinds of stuff. Right now, the event is the main thing. We're going to have speakers there. Clyde Lewis, Jordan Maxwell. I think we have 4 more speakers sign up today. Harold Couts, Karen Dahlman, Kev Baker, Brad Olson's coming now, Mary Ducina. The whole list is there at thefringefest.com. So go sign up. It's going to be fun. Halloween weekend. Hang out with us. All right. Is there any other announcements I can think of negative other than like download the app? The new app is really cool. You can leave shout outs. You can go to our social media. It even has a little chat room there. I like the shout out feature though. Use it and we'll play it over the air. Anything you want to say to us or say why you love us or hate us, we'll play it on the air. Guaranteed. Even put a little music behind it. All right. Let's bring on our guest. Timothy's here with us tonight. It's his second appearance on the show, and he's an illustrator, author, paranormal investigator, and folk musician living in Pennsylvania. His illustrations have appeared in the pages of various books, magazines, fanzines, and comics, as well as on many records and CD covers. And since 1995, he's been making music both solo and with his band Stone Breath. And Stone Breath released over a dozen albums. Timothy is the host of Strange Familiars podcast, and he makes regular appearances on the Paranormal Radio Show, where Did the Road Go? That's the one everybody knows about too, and has appeared as a guest on many other podcasts and radio programs. You can go check out the website at strangefamiliars.com. Timothy, thanks for coming back, man. How you been?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for having me back.
Man, I'm glad to hear that you're doing all right. How you doing with all this COVID stuff, man? With all the whatever this is, who knows?
You know, I think like everybody else, I want to be done with it, but we don't have much choice, right? We gotta get through it.
Yeah, exactly. We do gotta get through it. And that's the thing is, it's kind of hard right now with all these weird energies going on, this political debate and stuff. It's all like, I can at least tell you, and I know this happens during this month. I'm kind of an astrologer, or I study it anyways. And so we're moving into like the Scorpio season, right? Scorpio season is a Halloween season type where the veil's really kind of thin. And then we have to go into this deep, dark stuff where we deal with the underworld and spirits and our emotions. But we also experience kind of like weird things sometimes around this time of year, you know? Don't you ever experience stuff like that around this time of year, Tim?
I mean,
you do all the time, though. I mean, who am I kidding?
Stuff, a lot of weird stuff, a lot of times a year. But yeah, I'll go ahead and say yeah.
I feel like this time of year, it really does it for me. I mean, maybe it's just because it's my favorite time of the year. Like Halloween's my favorite holiday. But
I think that might play into it a little bit, because for me, I like Christmas. And I tend to get, some spooky stuff over the winter, but good spooky, But yeah, Halloween too. I mean, Halloween's kind of like the beginning. That this season is, like you said, Thin End of the Veil. It's kind of the beginning of all that, and then it. I think we have forgotten that Christmas was a spooky holiday too. It's only in like really recent times, in the starting around 1900, that Christmas became this super warm, nothing but saccharine sweet stuff around Christmas. Before then, it was a time for ghost stories and really spooky stuff. And Santa Claus was a wild man. He was until Coca-Cola tamed him, made him advertising. He came from this legacy of wild men like Belsnickel and Krampus and so forth. These guys that were a little bit scary.
He's a wild man, huh?
Oh yeah.
Well, I'd say there's a lot of stuff that goes back with these holidays too that people don't want to like really get into. I mean, I grew up in a home that really we didn't have Christmas. So the reason why I liked Halloween, even though like my grandma had Christmas, but not like, I don't know. I just didn't have like the normal kind of Christmas stuff. And, but Halloween was like one of those holidays that you could go to your friend's house, and my dad didn't, he didn't really care about it. So he's like, yeah, go worship the devil with your mask on or whatever, right? So I'm like, all right, and we would always have fun or go on like when we were kids, we went on hay rides, or we would do those like corn mazes, or do trick-or-treating, or throw our own haunted house, like at the 4-H thing. But now it's like, what are they going to do, man? Like, we're going to take all the fun out of it.
Yeah, I don't even know. Like this year, I don't even know, because we always try to like, we're going to be one of those families that turns our light on and gives out candy and celebrates Halloween, because we're a pro Halloween family. But I think this year we're going to have to put a table out front and a big bowl with a honor system, because just they're having it in our town. But I don't know if it's the best idea to be face to face with a bunch of kids.
Well, what are they going to do? Wear masks like under the mask? To me, I don't get it, right? And this whole COVID thing to me is like, I don't want to go on a rant here, because I know you want to talk. We probably want to talk about some paranormal stuff, but it's just I'm not saying the virus ain't real, and I know nobody wants to hear this, but it's like you can give a virus to a bunch of rats and see how they act too, and then like use it as an experiment. It's pretty simple, but the sad part is I don't know, man. Like if you take Halloween out of the picture, or this time of year for me, it kind of like sucks, man. I think we have to have it. It's like, how the body has to sleep to live and dream to live. Well, I think the human spirit has to have a dark kind of intervention every now and then,
Oh yeah. I think and again, I'm as tired of talking about COVID as everybody else. What I mean? I'm freaking done with it. But maybe there's ways to do it safely. I don't know. This is above my pay grade. I'm not a COVID guy. Right. I'm a Bigfoot guy.
Well, speaking of Bigfoot, did you see that picture that came out yesterday? I think that Lon Strickland put up on Nexus or something. That it's just another classic, like, really big, fat, hairy blob, but could have been a Bigfoot.
I think that's the one it was from a trail camera.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw the original footage of that. I mean, it's really interesting, but who knows? Right.
It looks familiar. It looks like it could be definitely something.
I mean, it shows something. It shows something big.
But you're a woodsman too, right? Like we talked about that last time when you were on the show. You're a woodsman yourself, not just like a musician and all the stuff that you do. You're an artist, but you like to go in the woods. You like to be in nature, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I love hiking.
And have you yourself ever rolled up on just a Bigfoot or saw one out of the corner of your eye? I don't know if I asked you that last time or not, but I was thinking that yesterday when I saw that picture. Man, I'd asked him if he saw anything like that.
So I've seen flashes of movement that were so fast that I can't honestly tell you what they were. Okay. One day I saw something. There's a place that we go to. We have a code name. We just call it Site 7. There's not 6 other sites. It's just we chose that name kind of randomly. But it's on private property, and there's some features about it that make it kind of dangerous. So we can't really give away where it is publicly. There's other places we do go with it that are public that I'm happy to share with people. But this particular one, I saw something there one day that I was with my friend. We were hiking, had, a few little weird things happen, but nothing much. there was a bunch of trees down across the path, and I swore the more branches were added to I had to kind of crawl through this tree. It was so big. And I swore more branches were added to it, like to sort of block our way, like bigger branches on the way back. And he said no. And my friend said, nah, but I don't know. But anyway, as we're walking back, I heard this sound, and I whipped, in the brush to the left of us, I whipped my head around to look, and I saw what I thought was like my first impression. So it was man-sized. It wasn't giant. It was human-sized. And my first impression was it was a guy in like an old, like 1970s gray sweatsuit, like a hoodie with the hood up. And it was that light, that kind of light gray or white even. And in the split second I saw it, I thought, why is it, it's like 85 degrees. Why is this guy in a sweatshirt out here? And then it turned and just took off into the brush, and we could hear it, or him. It could have been a person. I really don't know. But they were in like really, really thick brush, if that's who they were. And they just took off through it. You could hear them just crashing through. That was so quick, I don't know. On another occasion, I don't know if did I get into telling all about the skulls last time?
I don't think so. I don't remember actually. But definitely want to hear about some skulls though.
So there's a area that again, it's private property, but people know this by legend. It's called Toad Road. It's in York County. They've made like horror movies about it and stuff. None of it's true. The stuff in the movies, and I'm going to go ahead and say every book that's been written about it except mine is nonsense. I have, as best as I can determine, the true story of the area in my books on it. I actually wrote 2 on it. But I was out there one time with a friend, and we were hiking. I like to hike the entire length of this road. It's a closed road. It was closed in 1972 after Hurricane Agnes, and now it's, they call it a road, but it's barely a path now. It's so overgrown, and I like to hike it, the whole thing. At least I try to do it twice a year, spring and fall, or spring and winter. If I don't get to it in the fall, because there is hunting there, so sometimes I don't want to bug the hunters and get in there and bother them. So I let them have their time. Yeah. But in any case, I was there with my friend, and he didn't, for whatever reason, he didn't want to do the whole road. So we'd hiked in, and then we were coming back, and right in the middle of the trail on the way back was a raccoon skull. And now I've been collecting like skulls since I was a little kid. I've always found them fascinating. I'm an artist. I like to draw them. I found my first one in the woods when I was probably 10 or something. And ever since then, I've just been collecting them. And I'm really tuned to that kind of bone color when I'm hiking. So the fact that this was right in the middle of the trail and I missed it on the way in, I mean, it's possible. I could have stepped over it, but to me, it seems unlikely. It seems unlikely that I would have missed that, but hey, who knows? So I picked it up, put it in my bag, and I made plans with this friend to come back and sort of finish the hike in another week. Well, week went by, he couldn't go. Another week goes by, he couldn't go. I think it ended up being 3 weeks before I got out there again. And he couldn't go, and I just said, you know what? I'm going to go out and finish the hike myself. I'm going to do the whole thing again. And so I'm there alone, and I get to the place on the trail about where I picked up that raccoon skull, and I hear something in the brush. Maybe 50, 75 yards away, I'm guessing. I look up and I see something big. It was gray and black fur or hair, and it took off like a lightning bolt. So I was headed south, and this took off south. So it went in the direction I was headed. It was big, and my first impression I got was moose, and we do not have moose in Pennsylvania. Certainly not in southern Pennsylvania.
No.
Because I'd seen a moose when I was hiking in Massachusetts, and it moved in a weird way. It had a different gait than a deer. And I thought, what the hell? So that was my first impression. And then I went, no, it can't be a moose. Again, I don't know what it was. I saw its back, and gray and black hair. And I took off after it. And not out of bravery. I don't know. It was almost like I just went. I didn't even think about it.
You just did like the natural instinct that something most people won't do. You just took off after it, huh?
Well, yeah. I mean, even later on, I thought about it. I was like, what were you doing? If something was, I sort of sat down and kind of hyperventilated a little bit. I was like, man, if something really was trying to lead you, you took the bait, So I'm saying that to myself. But in any case, I followed on I want to say maybe a half mile, maybe between a quarter and a half mile. I'm not sure. I followed south as quickly as I could. It's a pretty nasty hike. It's like, especially this was getting into April, so the weeds and poison ivy are growing up, and thorns, and I saw a copperhead when I was down there, and came out covered in ticks. Usually ticks don't bother me. They don't. I won't get a tick. I'll go hiking with people. Everybody will get ticks but me. But this day, for whatever reason, I came out with like 3 or 4 ticks on me, which is a nasty, not fun hike. But I followed this thing. I'm just crashing through as fast as I can go, and I'm come to this part in the middle of the trail at eye level. Is a deer skull impaled on a branch, right at eye level. And the only thing I can say is, like, this is private property. No one should be there. They allow hunting during hunting season. This wasn't during hunting season. And it's not a fun hike. This isn't somewhere where someone goes on a regular basis. So could a person have come down there? Yes, they could have come down there and put that skull there. My question is how and why. They would have either had to bring a skull with them or find one down there and then impale it on the branch. But in any case, it stopped me in my tracks. And, this gets into really woo territory. But people asked me if I thought it was a warning. Like some of these other Bigfoot guys have been like, oh, that they put bones and skulls around as warnings to people. That's not the feeling I got at all. The feeling I got really was, you like that little raccoon skull, huh? Well, here's something you're really going to like. And that it was wonderment and awe. And I grabbed this skull and put it in my pack and ended up turning around. I more out of just wonder at the whole experience, and headed out of there. But that marked this period for, probably a year or more after that. And it continues today. But maybe less intensely, where I started finding skulls on every paranormal investigation I went on. Not hidden. They weren't like, I'm not crawling through the brush trying to find them. These things were prominently placed in the middle of paths, or just like sitting out there waiting for me. I think the next Bigfoot investigation I went on, a guy had seen two on his property across a pond. He wouldn't go across the pond. He wanted nothing to do with it. He's like, you're going over there? So yeah, I'll go over there. So I went over to where he said he saw the creatures, and I'm holding up my walking stick. How tall was it? He's across, all the way across the property telling me, where he saw them and where they were standing. And
yeah,
as soon as I'm done that, getting all the measurements and everything, I look down, and at my feet is a perfectly clean deer skull. So from that point, I mean, I literally probably 85% of the paranormal investigations I did, I would find a skull, just prominently placed.
Yeah. Okay, so I remember you talking to me about this last time, because I was wondering why like this kept happening to you, and you were talking about how it comes up as like some type of, it's something that just happens to you, isn't it? The skulls.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like the phenomenon likes to play a little bit and maybe give you what you want. I had thought it stopped. I thought it stopped. I thought, like, okay, that's done happening, because I went on a few investigations and it didn't happen. And I was on we were doing a on-site thing for the podcast in Maryland, and it was about this guy named Lee Master, who they think his ghost haunts this area and so forth. He was back from the colonial times. And the story goes he would dress up like a ghost and scare his neighbors. And I'm walking through the woods behind his old mansion, and we're not even on a trail. We're just kind of plowing through these woods, trying to get back to where we had parked, and came upon a plastic skull, like a plastic Halloween skull, way out in the middle of the woods, nothing else around. And
that's weird.
I picked it up and I'm like, that's funny. But I found a skull. I made a joke with my buddy. I'm like, see, here I am on a paranormal investigation, found another skull. And then somebody said, one of my listeners pointed out, like, isn't that appropriate? This guy used to dress up as a ghost and scare people, and here you find like a plastic Halloween skull on his property. And I'm like, oh wow, I guess that does. But that kind of kicked it, like restarted it. And then my next hike on Toad Road, I found 2 pig skulls. Well, I found one, and my buddy found the other.
What do you think it is, man? Like, why do you think you keep finding all these skulls, though? Seriously.
I don't know. The only thing I can tell you is, like I said, I collected them all my life, and since I found that one initially on Toad Road, my skull collection has like quadrupled. You know what I mean? In just a few years, they're just everywhere now, and even my daughter, she doesn't believe in any of this stuff. She wants nothing to do with the paranormal stuff, but she's like, Dad, she's an artist too. She's like, Dad, I want some skulls. I have to go out with you. She doesn't like to hike or anything, but she'll go out with me because she knows I'll bring the skulls in.
Have you ever looked up like the omen of a what that means?
I mean, I think for most people they're going to take it negatively, but like I said, I really don't. I think it was like, it was, for me, really the feeling was like, oh, you like those, do you? Well, we'll get you more of those. But I don't know. I had other people say like, I wouldn't bring those home. That's I mean, it's skulls, right? Like well, shoot, we got to take a break here, but it's like a quick break. But according to this thing, what I found here on the interwebs is that a skull is only a part of a whole skeleton, so it carries the thought of death wherever it's seen. And this fact makes us think of our death at times. This helps to symbolize not only death, but life and mortality as well. So maybe it's not all bad, right? Yeah.
Don't know. We'll be right back with Timothy Renner. We'll go ahead and open up the phones if you want to call in too all night. Give away a pair of tickets, 1-800-588-0335. More Lighting the Void coming up. Stay with us.
Talk radio, then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play.
This
or
portion
the
of the show is
iTunes
being
App
brought to
Store.
you by Ed's Shoplift Emporium, the world's first store intended to fill the needs of today's busy kleptomaniacs. Our cluttered aisles, unstaffed dressing rooms, mirrorless walls, and untrained, uncaring security guards make it almost impossible for us to catch you. So why pay retail? Why pay wholesale? Come on down to Ed's Shoplift Emporium, where everything on sale
This
is a real steal.
KTLK Digital Broadcasting, the Fringe FM. Want more of the Fringe? Check out thefringe.fm for more information on your favorite shows. Also, don't forget to check out the Fringe mobile app or the other ways you can tune in through the Paranormal radio app and TalkStream Live. Where the normal and paranormal collide, it's the Fringe FM.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
What happens when you bring the Fringe FM together with the world's leading paranormal experts and influencers? What if no topic was off the table, including paranormal events, conspiracy theory, witchcraft, psychic abilities, astrology, ufology, and more? And what would happen if you broadcast this event in crystal clear video live around the world, allowing viewers to interact with their favorite presenters? You would have created the monster that is the Fringe Fest 2020. 2 nights only, Friday, October 30th and Saturday, October 31st. Go to thefringefest.com for more info. Get your tickets today at thefringefest.com. That is thefringefest.com. Trick or truth, it's up to you. All right, welcome back to Lighting the Void. We're here with Timothy Renner tonight. We're only 1 week away from Halloween. TheFringeFest.com. Alex Exum's famous Halloween event. We're going to do some fun stuff too, like funny bits and all that stuff. Have a good time. It's going to be a party. Go to TheFringeFest.com. Make sure you sign up. I mean, you can come and go as you please. You get 15% off when you use the code word Joe. I know you're not going to go trick-or-treating both nights. It's worth it. What are you going to do? You sit around and watch the same Netflix movie you've been watching? By the way, I watched that Netflix movie, I think it's called Hubie Halloween with Adam Sandler or whatever. It's hilarious. You seen that, Tim? That's hilarious.
I'm not. My kids won't let me watch it.
Your kids won't let you watch it?
That looks dumb, Dad.
Oh, man. Adam Sandler's like classic. That guy puts in work. He's goofy and funny, but everybody talks about like all the actors that they say that he's one of the hardest working professionals in the business. It's probably why he's so successful, I think.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But I would say that about you too, man. Like you've been kind of doing this. How long have you been doing this as far as like investigations go?
Well, only seriously, probably 5-6 years. Seriously, I was dipping my toes in a little bit here and there, but once I started writing books, that's when I really, really kind of dove in. I guess I was at first like a little bit hesitant to write about my own experiences. And then some other people, as I was writing about other people's experience, of course, I'd go on a podcast or a radio show or something and somebody asked, well, anything ever happened to you? And I'd start talking and they're like, nah, you got to write your own stuff down. You can't just write about other people's stuff. So I started doing that. And when I started doing that, I started, kind of digging in more and putting myself out there more as far as being in spooky places.
And you started finding skulls, which we were talking about before the break, and I kind of looked into this a little bit more. We were talking about how it represented death. Well, it still says the most common symbolic use of a skull is a representation of death, mortality, and the unachievable nature of immortality. That's kind of, I don't know. You see it on a lot of different symbols too. The skull. It's kind of a universal thing for death or warnings or just bad things, but maybe it's just a perception thing,
And I'm not so sure that a memento mori, a reminder of death, is necessarily a bad thing. But even beyond that, over time, my friend Josh, who I wrote a couple books with, one's been published, the other's going to come out later this year. He's fond of saying, of the entire spectrum of the paranormal. Like sometimes I wonder if it's not all one big ghost story, and there might be something to that. There is a very, very strong connection to death with all this stuff. Whitley Strieber's wife at one point said something like, as regards the alien abduction stuff, she said, I can't help but wonder if this doesn't have something to do with death. And that's not an exact quote. No, I'm sorry, I probably misquoted her a little bit, but that's the gist of what she said. And over time, I've begun to wonder that as well. Like there's a very, very strong connection between Bigfoot and death. From the fact that
really?
Yeah. They're seen very often in rural graveyards as an example. There was something that people called the curse of Bigfoot, which some people will argue whether that's really a thing or not, but a disproportionate number of witnesses will go on and die.
Like he's kind of like the angel of death, or if they see one that you're, wouldn't that be freaking
I don't
weird?
want to scare people because by far most people don't, you know what I mean? But there was some talk of the curse of Bigfoot, where a certain percentage of people were just meeting their end afterwards. But there's more than that. There's very, very tied to ghosts, and in many ways this phenomenon across the board is it's getting harder for me to separate ghosts and UFOs and Bigfoot and et cetera anymore, just because of how much common ground they all share. But I'm not saying they're all the same thing. I'm just saying they share a lot of common ground between them all.
Ah, okay. Well, that's just for some reason I got to some weird feeling like, what if like Bigfoot was like the Grim Reaper kind of, or the angel of death, like right before you die, you see a big hairy Bigfoot, be the last thing you see. That would be a trip.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, a lot of First Nations legends have them as sort of bad omens, like you don't want to see them. So who knows?
But you haven't messed with any more occult circles or any like witchy stuff in the woods after we talked last time. That you told me about that, right?
No. That's trying to be careful with as that stuff goes.
Okay, so you're walking in the woods and you see like this little Blair Witch Poppet doll looking thing hanging off of a tree limb in the woods. What do you do? What would you do?
I'd probably look for more because I'm very, very interested in that kind of thing. I wrote again, it's in the book that's coming out, Where the Footprints End, Volume 2. Volume 1's out, but Volume 2, which is about ready to come out, hopefully next month. I have a whole chapter on stick signs and as regards Bigfoot, and I do get into the Blair Witch stuff and the what was that HBO series, True Detective season 1? God,
that was a freaky show. That first season was freaky.
Oh yeah. When they talk about the devil nets and so forth, and a lot of these Bigfoot researchers have put forth the idea that these stick structures are hunting blinds, which is ridiculous because they wouldn't hide me or you, much less a giant creature, or some kind of like structure to, I don't know, live in or something. But they're pretty much open to the sky. They don't have anything like that. Markers, maybe some people say they're markers. That I couldn't argue, but I posit the theory that there's possibly, we don't know. I don't have a Bigfoot I can question, but possibly some kind of hex sign or like a 3D sigil or some kind of magical operation that they're doing in the woods using sticks and trees.
Yeah, that could be. It could be, or just I don't know. Like I've seen this stuff myself too, but I got to tell you, I also like had some guy kind of try to fool me,
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of made me question everything. And I was thinking like, because he showed me these archways and all this stuff in the woods. I'm like, wow, that's cool. And I looked at this valley and I was like, you know what? I want to go walking down that valley. That looks just something was calling me towards it. And I'm not going to lie about that. I had this pull towards it. And this was in Arkansas around some crystal mines and stuff. And he said, yeah, well, we'll go walking down there at night, right? We'll go down there. So he takes me back out there right before dark. And he talks about how like there's rocks and boulders being thrown around and stuff like that, you know. I said, okay. So we're walking down through the woods, and I can see in the dark. I grew up hunting. You're probably the same way, right? You walk around the woods in the morning, at night. You start to develop an eye for dark woods, I guess, if that makes any sense.
Well, I actually have awful night vision, but
oh, you have awful night vision?
Yeah,
okay, well then you probably don't know what I'm talking about then, but
I try.
Anyways, like I see I'm like the Terminator. I see everything. But he's walking in front of me, and then you could tell like he kind of breaks his stride in his step and purposely steps on this stick that's going perpendicular to him up a hill. And you know what's on the end of that stick? It was probably about 20, 25 foot, limb as a boulder. So there was a rig set up there where like when he walked across it, it would make the boulder just come flying down the hill. And then it's like right when I saw him do it, my heart sank in my stomach. You know what I mean? And I was like, I felt embarrassed for him, right? And I was like, oh no. Because I knew what he was going to do. He turned around, I was like, what was that? Where'd that come from? And I'm like, come on, man. I was like, you stepped on this stick right there and this boulder came down the hill. I saw it. And he's like, no, I didn't mean to. I don't know. I guess maybe it was up there or something. I'm like, yeah, okay. All right, well, I just didn't know what to say after that. But then at that point, man, it made me feel like all that stuff that I saw out there could have just been, BS or something. But what if it wasn't? And then they kind of add to it, and then that just discredits the real stuff, Who knows?
Yeah. Again, we have a couple chapters one on disappearing evidence and one on hoaxing in this second volume coming up, and it's it goes hand in hand with the paranormal, and I don't know why. Many a seasoned researcher, well-respected researcher, has resulted to hoaxery over time, and many hoaxer has eventually claimed that they've seen some really weird stuff. My favorite example is the people who make the crop circles in England.
Yeah.
Now, not all of them can be explained this way, but some of them, for instance, appear in like 20 minutes or something. It's like, well, how did that happen? I don't think anybody did that. But
right.
A good many of them were man-made, and people admitted to making them, and they showed how they made them and so forth. But they said, yeah, we made them, but you don't even know. Like when we're out there at night making these things, they said like weird stuff happens all around us. We see orbs flying around us, hear strange sounds and voices and all this stuff. So, it's kind of it's almost like fake it till you make it in a way. And I'm not encouraging hoaxing. I don't think it's a good thing to hoax, but it seems to be like bound up in the paranormal. Like hoaxing seems to be part of it. And almost, sometimes you get these ridiculous stories from people where, on the podcast lately, I've had this run of people telling me they're just seeing legs, just disembodied legs.
Dude, I've heard that story too. That's crazy.
Yeah. And it's like, now what is the purpose of that? Except to make the witness seem crazy,
Yeah, that is a little wild though. Like just to see legs walking. Is that what they're saying? They're saying?
Yeah. Yes. And I've had a couple that said that they would just look like Bigfoot legs, like big hairy legs. I've had one person said that it just looked like a naked man's legs, just regular human legs.
What the hell?
Had one that said it looked like little green goblin legs or something, like really short, like little legs running across in front of her car. So, and it's just bizarre. And I've gotten more since that I haven't even gotten to get on the podcast yet. That's just completely bizarre.
That doesn't make any sense to me. There is some. I'm sure there's some bizarre stuff out there, man. Though, like really, stuff that we just can't explain. But when I went out to the mine to do that, like I saw an orb, man. I had weird stuff happen. I had like I walked up a mountain and felt like I had swelling in my foot. And just as soon as I got around the crystals, because they had some deep quartz crystals in there. And as soon as I got around it, like the swelling went away. And then I put my compass down, and he was like, put your compass all over this thing. And I walked in a circle and was putting my compass everywhere, and it was just spinning. And that night I saw an orb. So like I saw all this stuff. So like why add to it, I think. And that's what's kind of sad is because I think, I don't know. Like, okay, there maybe they walked across the stick and that thing was there and he didn't see it. But it just, come on, you know.
Yeah. It just throws everything into question. It really does.
Yeah. So it's like, I think this stuff happens, but then like it doesn't happen. And they want to kind of keep stuff going, you know, maybe, and just kind of keep entertaining. Like I get it, you know, but
yeah, I think especially when someone turns up like some pretty good evidence, I think they feel under pressure to keep turning up evidence.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times you'll find them start hoaxing.
Yeah. And it's like, what do you say to that? What am I supposed to say other than like, you know, like,
yeah, no, it's like this kind of almost secondhand embarrassment.
Yeah. You feel like kind of embarrassed for them because they just, but at the same time, I don't doubt that there's something going on out there, like for sure. And now that I'm up here, I'm actually closer to you than I was. I went down into Pennsylvania not too long ago because I'm in upstate New York right now, and went down into Pennsylvania and saw the Amish and stuff. There's got to be, if there's Bigfoot, they got to be in Pennsylvania. There's no doubt about it, man. They got to be. There's Amish folk out there. That's all I really saw that was kind of weird to me. You're not Amish,
we
are
have
you?
them all around.
Hope I didn't offend you.
No.
No, but I did get out and try to talk to them, and they were like, they were just laughing at me. They wouldn't talk to me. You know?
Yeah, no, there's my feelings on the Amish should be saved for another place.
This is not a good place to talk about it. We can talk about it off there, maybe.
I think people have this idea that they're these good stewards of the environment, and they're not.
They're saints.
They're you know, they're not real kind to the land. You know, I work on a organic farm.
Oh, do you? That's cool.
With my friend, and the way the Amish do things, at least around here, it isn't super environmentally friendly, and you can find some pretty hideous animal abuse videos without looking too hard of the Amish.
Man.
You know, we had a Amish guy beat his horse to death on the side of the road not too long ago, a couple years back, I think. So it's you know, they're people. They're fallible like the rest of us, I suppose.
Yeah. Good thing. Yeah. I can't. That's the only thing I've ever been in jail for in my life is watching somebody do that and reacting to it. I can't stand animal abuse, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's hard. It's very, very hard to watch.
Well, shoot. So, okay. So
I derailed everything.
That's okay. So back, I did, but back to these skulls and stuff, man. So when's the last time you saw a skull? Like, is it recently the last time that you found one? I mean, has it just not stopped?
Post COVID, I had started walking because like everything was shut down. This is like in the early part of COVID. And there's 2 or 3 acres of woods. And I live in a small town, and there's just this little patch of woods here. And I took to walking in that with my wife because I just wasn't getting out hiking much, and you know, just stuff wasn't moving. And I think the state parks were open, but I just, for whatever reason, I just wasn't going hiking as much. So I just started spending more time in this. And we had gone out one day, and my daughter said something like, I want to find a skull. And she didn't go with us this day for whatever reason. And my wife and I were walking down this path, and we'd been there the day, we were walking it every night, and we'd been there the night before, and right on a log, as if it was sitting there waiting for us, right out in the open, is a fox skull. And my wife found it, not me, but I mean, I was right there with her. And she's like, "Oh, don't start with your skull stuff. That doesn't count." I'm like, "It totally counts. It counts. You're with me. It counts." And it's sitting out there waiting for us.
Does your wife think you're crazy? Does she think you're weird? Like you're a weird skull collector? She's got to dig it a little bit, probably, I would think. You know.
What, my wife?
Yeah.
Yeah, she knew what she was getting into.
Right. Yeah, she's got to dig it a little bit. You know.
She looked like Morticia Adams when I started dating her.
That makes sense. That's cool. Yeah. So you guys are like perfect then. So
hopefully,
yeah. We're finding out as we go along here. But yeah, you know what? I haven't talked about too since even when you was on the show last. I just kind of started talking about all this stuff. But like, tell everybody. But too, like before we go into the top of the hour break here, what podcast you're on? Like you're on. 2 of them, aren't you? Don't you go on Expanded Perspectives and the other one as well, like Strange Familiars, or how's that work?
I'm a bit of a, ask me and I'll go, but Strange Familiars is my podcast, and I'm probably on second most to that. I'm on Where Did the Road Go, and then I'm on Sasquatch Chronicles whenever I can as well.
Man, it's like y'all are like, that's like the famous ones, isn't it? Everybody talks about all those shows. I hear it all the time. You know, like
Well, I mean, Sasquatch Chronicles is great. If you like Sasquatch stuff, that's the place to go as far as I'm concerned.
Well, you can't say squatching. Or do you get offended if people say that? Last time I said that, I got like really, really reprimanded for saying that. Like that's offensive to people that talk about Sasquatch. Apparently,
yeah,
you don't care. Yeah. Well.
I think I'm offensive to people who talk about Sasquatch anymore. Most of these flesh and blood guys, I'm not their favorite person in the world.
Why is that? What happened?
Because I don't believe it's a monkey in the woods, and I'll tell them straight up. And it's something else. I don't know what it is. I believe it's real. I believe it leaves footprints and scat and hair, but it's not an undiscovered primate. There's something very, very weird about it. And I've written 2 giant books with Josh that points out all the weirdness associated with this creature, and I'll not have it anymore. Those guys used to say, "Oh, it barely ever happens. You barely ever see a Bigfoot and a UFO together." That is not true. That's not true. Tons and tons and tons of cases of Bigfoot and UFOs seen together. They say things like, "Oh, the 3-toed footprints, that barely ever happens. It only happened a little bit. And that's a different species," or something like that. Not true. It's happened all over the country, especially in the 70s. 3-toed footprints were everywhere, from California to Pennsylvania and everywhere in between. So, glowing eyes. That no animal on Earth has glowing eyes. That makes no sense. And I'm the guy that pointing out all this stuff. So I'm not their favorite person because I'm raining on their monkey in the woods parade, I think.
Well, why wouldn't they want it to be something different? Like it's just a monkey in the woods. Well, that's not cool, but very paranormal. It doesn't make sense either. If it was just a monkey in the woods, it wouldn't be so damn evasive, right?
We'd have one. We would have one. Or there'd be something in the fossil record that looked like it. Now, there's things that kind of look like it, but there's nothing that matches that in the fossil record. The ultimate argument for me is, show me the monkey. Like, when you can roll a body in, then my argument's done. But I have every confidence in the world that we're never going to get a body because, I believe people have had bodies for short periods of time and they go missing 100% of the time. 100% of the time. There's been people back to the 1800s that have claimed to shoot and kill these things. And we don't have any parts of them. 100% of the time, these things go missing. The hair and blood and scat people collect is always inconclusive. Always comes back inconclusive. Any kind of firsthand evidence, like a primary relic, like something that actually came from its body, is always inconclusive. Our best evidence is footprints. When these are secondary relics, these are things that the animal or the creature has touched. And those are great. Like the footprints are amazing and enough to convince people like Dr. Jeff Meldrum, these primate locomotion specialists that something very real left these prints. But, those are the good prints. There's a lot of really wacky, weird prints that show, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 toes on these things, 3 toes, which is not like people talk about inbreeding. Well, inbreeding will that'll give you more, not less digits. No primate should have 3 toes, and yet these weird 3-toed tracks appear everywhere. So there's so much about this thing that needs to be explained, and the flesh and blood cryptozoologist guys, they're desperate for the approval of mainstream science, and you're never going to get it. Never, ever, ever going to get it. And I mean, unless or until you roll a body in, and again, I don't think that's going to happen. This stuff disappears. The bodies disappear.
Yeah, I'm with you, because I believe if it was a monkey, we would have they would have a body or something right now for sure. But whatever this thing is, it definitely keeps evading over and over again. Can't believe we're already at the top of the first hour. That's insane. Or we're about to be into the second hour. But Timothy Renner, our guest tonight, if you want to win tickets, you can call in 1-800-588-0335. That's the call-in number to win tickets to the Fringe Fest. Go to thefringefest.com. This is our first event, and it's online. We'll get your passes. I think we've already given away maybe 10 tickets on the show so far. All of you will get your tickets, don't worry. We'll be right back. More Lighting the Void coming up. Stay with us.
From Spiritual Warrior Today Radio, and you're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
Good evening, this is Art Bell, and you are listening to The Fringe FM.
This is the Rogie Report News on The Fringe FM. I'm Jess Rogie. NASA has successfully touched down on an asteroid. According to Science Alert, NASA has landed a spacecraft on an asteroid and sucked up a sample of dust and rock from the surface. From over 200 million miles away, NASA and its engineering partner Lockheed Martin instructed the spacecraft to descend to the surface of the space rock called Bennu. The spacecraft is known as OSIRIS-REx, short for Origins, Spectral, Interpretation, Resource, Identification, Security.
Over 200 million miles away from Earth, NASA's OSIRIS-REx spacecraft is preparing for an ambitious sample collection attempt at asteroid Bennu. This is the first asteroid sample return mission for NASA, and it could be the largest return from space since the Apollo astronauts brought moon samples back to Earth.
OSIRIS-REx has been orbiting Bennu since December of 2018. Scanning the asteroid and collecting as much data as possible. It's set to leave in March of 2021 and then reach Earth September of 2023. Who thought all the Nazca lines were discovered? I did, until recently when scientists uncovered a giant cat in the Nazca Desert. The cat measures 120 feet long and approximately 2,000 years old. Johnny Isla, Peru's chief archaeologist for the Nazca Line, says, "It's quite striking that we're still finding new figures. But we also know that there are more to be found." This particular geoglyph of a cat has been dated between 200 and 100 BCE, meaning it's part of the late Paracas period. This could mean the Paracas culture may be responsible for creating the cat. This also makes the cat older than any other geoglyphs found in the area. Famous skeptic and debunker James Randi has passed away. The Washington Post writes James Randi, the internationally acclaimed magician and escape artist, was both praised and cursed for devoting much of his career to debunking all things paranormal, from spoon bending and water dowsing to spirit channeling. Died on October 20th. He was 92. This is the Rogie Report News on the Fringe FM. I'm Jess Rogie.
Tired of going out and having fun on Friday nights? Perfect. Because that's when our show, Shift Happens, airs live every Friday night at 7 p.m. Pacific, that's 9 p.m. Central, right here on the Fringe FM. You get there while you can status.
Stardate October 22nd. Most of the time, you can't tell much about how far away the lights in the night sky are just by looking at them. But you can tonight, at least for a bright trio, the Moon and the planets Jupiter and Saturn. Not surprisingly, the Moon is the brightest member of the trio, and it's also the closest, 250,000 miles away. Except for the occasional asteroid, no astronomical object ever gets closer to us. Jupiter is to the right of the Moon, and it looks like a brilliant star. Right now, only Venus and Mars outshine it. Jupiter is the largest planet in the solar system, 11 times the diameter of Earth. The combination means it reflects a lot of sunlight our way, but its luster is dulled by its distance, roughly 485 million miles. Saturn is above the Moon. The planet looks like a bright star, though not nearly as bright as Jupiter. It too is a giant world enveloped in clouds. And as a bonus, its rings reflect a lot of light as well. From a distance of 930 million miles, though, it can't hold a candle to Jupiter. There's another way to look at the distances to these three bodies, how long it takes their light to reach Earth. For the Moon, it's about 1 1/3 second. For Jupiter, it's about 43 minutes. And for distant Saturn, it's almost twice that, 83 minutes for its light to travel from the giant planet to your eye. We have more skywatching tips, astronomy news, and much more about the universe in Stardate magazine. Details at stardate.org. For the McDonald Observatory, I'm Billy Henry.
Please listen. Now is not the time to fear. When your immune system is strong, shields up. You have very little worries. If your immune system is compromised, you're susceptible to all viruses. I say shields up and no fear. Try Heart Love from GetTheTea.com. Heart Love has a special ingredient called allicin. It comes from the healing part of the garlic plant. No garlic breath, no garlic leaking out your pores, just pure immune-building ingredients that gets your shields up. Heart Love is a unique blend of herbs that loves to build you up. Google garlic and know the benefits. One Heart Love pill is equal to 20 cloves of garlic. 20 cloves! Shields up. You've heard of our Life Change Cleansing Tea at GetTheTea.com. Now try Heart Love. And by the way, take your blood pressure and watch weekly what happens. So here's how to purchase. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com and build your shields. That's GetTheTea.com. Mention Ray in the coupon code and hit apply and receive free shipping.
Newsletter filled with the latest paranormal news, trending topics, and fresh articles from some of the most popular critical thinkers in the community today. Stay informed on your favorite paranormal podcasts and live streaming talk shows. Interact with the telepath and upload your paranormal story or pics. It could be featured in an upcoming edition. Sign up right now for the free telepath newsletter at paranormal.radio. That's paranormal.radio.
This is Alex Exum of the Exum Experience in Live Talk, where we discuss current events, society, and culture. My shows are based in actuality, actual existence, contrasted with what was intended, expected, or believed. You can listen to me live Tuesdays at 7 p.m. only on KTLK, The Fringe FM.
So call Joe, pick up the phone, dial 1-800-588-0335, toll free from the United States or Canada. You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio.
Well, so far we've talked about Bigfoots and skulls. That's a good topic. Let's talk about Halloween month, right? Timothy Renner, our guest, thanks again for coming on the show again, brother. I appreciate you coming on.
Oh, anytime.
So what is this big dilemma then, right? So the big dilemma always has been, I think, a couple of things with Bigfoot. That's why I'm kind of talking to you, because I really don't talk to a lot of people about Bigfoot or Sasquatch, because it's a very polarized subject, and a lot of people pretend to know the answers. But I kind of hear you when you say, people say, well, it's just a monkey in the woods, like they know, and you're just kind of like taking notes and saying, well, that's not true. There's all kinds of crazy stuff that happens. Why do you think that is? Why do you think people just don't want to acknowledge the facts or what's been put out?
Well, it's part of it's the problem that we have in the paranormal community, where the UFO people think the ghost people are crazy, and the ghost people think the Bigfoot people are crazy, and the Bigfoot people think the UFO people are crazy, and et cetera, et cetera. The other part is this sort of worship of kind of mainstream science. I mean, look at they even came up with a name for themselves, cryptozoologists, because they want to sound like, so mainstream and part of that world. And there are legitimate, by the way, cryptozoologists who do things like find, super rare bugs and lizards and stuff in the, jungles of the South Pacific or whatever. But, they usually have serious amounts of training and are actual zoologists. They're not just, guys that put on adventure hats and give themselves a nice scientific sounding title. But the fact is that there is weird stuff associated with Bigfoot, and you can't get away from it. And there's been a lot of what I call weird washing, that they will take those parts of the report that make it sound the most like a monkey in the woods, and they will ignore the other evidence. For instance, if a witness says they saw Bigfoot and drove down the road, and the same night saw a UFO, half mile down the road or something, they don't want to hear about the UFO. They only want to talk about the Bigfoot. It's just, but I say, how rare is it to see Bigfoot? How rare is it to see a UFO? How friggin' rare is it to see them both at the same time? And you're going to tell me they're not related? That's just a coincidence? Like, nah, give me a break. It's, they're related somehow. How they're related, I can't tell you. But, so it's this idea, I think, that this weird stuff, people seeing half a Bigfoot or seeing a Bigfoot turn invisible, or, glowing eyes, which they will attribute to eye shine, not eye glow. But eye shine is something that does occur in mammals. It occurs in deer, for instance. You're driving, you see the deer in the headlight, their eye shine, that's eye shine. It's a tapetum lucidum. It's a reflective layer in the eyes. However, no high order primates have a tapetum lucidum. You get some lower order monkeys that have it, but no high order primates have it. So, if this is a natural creature, it's the king of evolution. It has things that no other creature has. But I'll go ahead and say that as regards tapetum lucidum, many witnesses say that no, they weren't reflecting. They were glowing. They were glowing a color: red, blue, green, yellow, whatever. But they will say they were glowing. But in any case, I think there's this idea that if you could, with a lot of these guys, that if we could just get mainstream science to take us seriously, then we could prove to them that these creatures exist. And again, I just don't see it ever happening, unless or until you roll a body in.
I would think how much of this stuff these people are saying too, like how much do you think is in the mind, right? I mean, because look, I could have an event. I've done this before. I've had something happen in my life, and then later on retell the story. I've retold the story 100 times, come back and do it again, and only to figure out that I lost some part of that memory, or my mind made up something, Sure. So like documented evidence is probably important too, I would say, don't you think?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. And for the reasons you stated, science hates witness testimony for those that the exact reason you stated. But the best evidence we have when it comes to all things paranormal, but if we're going to, specifically talk about Bigfoot, is witness testimony. So, what are you going to do with that? What I do is look for the commonalities between what these witnesses are saying, especially if I gather a report from, the 1800s and they're describing a certain behavior that people in modern times are describing. To me, that says something. That says a lot. That there's a consistency of behavior in these, whatever these things are, across hundreds of years. But that's the biggest problem, because I don't consider myself. I'm not a scientist. I'm a folklorist, and folklore loves witness testimony. Science hates it. So there you go.
Are you a 410 man? Is that what you're saying? You a fan of Charles?
I guess I guess that's the best thing, but I'll just come down and say I'm a folklorist. But I will note that a lot of people use folklore to mean fiction, and it's not. Someone who, I play traditional folk music. These folk stories survive for a reason. If you think about, this plan will kill you, that plan will heal you. That's been passed down through the ages. They survive for a reason, and they're passing information down. And there's a saying in the traditional folk song world that a bad song doesn't get to become traditional. And I think it's kind of true with this information that gets passed down. Like, bad information doesn't get to become traditional usually. Now there is some out there, but in any case, I think the folklore about this weird stuff, about these weird creatures, the fairies and goblins and stuff, it changes over time, and it gets exaggerated because it's a big game of whispering down the lane, and things just naturally get exaggerated that way. But the essential truth was our ancestors telling us, like, hey, these things are out there, and this is how we dealt with them. Don't follow the lights. Don't follow the lights in the woods. It's not good. That has come down from folklore all over the world. Of course, I've followed the lights on quite a few occasions, but
you came out okay. You're okay so far. I mean, other than the fact that you keep finding skulls in the woods,
Well, yeah, but again, it's to me, it's as an artist who's collected them, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
How many skulls do you think you have?
Oh my goodness, I don't know.
Just dozens? If you had to guess, hundreds, dozens.
Dozens, maybe more. I don't know.
You don't seem like
maybe
a creepy guy, though, But I bet if somebody walked into your house, you got a house, is it full of skulls and crazy looking artwork, stuff like that?
Yeah.
Kind of figured that. I kind of figured that. Well, here's the thing, Tim. Like, I want to believe in Bigfoot. I want to know, not just believe, right? That's my thing. It's like, I want to know. And I think there's some things that we're never going to know, but
right.
I don't see how we haven't, even if it was UFOs, even if it was interdimensional creatures or whatever, I don't see how we haven't captured one, or just other than the Patterson film, really got to know a Bigfoot yet. I mean,
it is one of the most difficult exercises, and I mean, I struggle with this big time still, and it's kind of where I live, is the idea that something could be apparitional. And when I say things like apparitional or archetypal, I think a lot of people get the idea that I mean they're like ephemeral things that are like not there, but I just mean that they don't have a material presence all the time. Something that could be apparitional and physical is a really, really difficult thing to wrap our head around. It's explained way more eloquently than I ever will by a guy named Patrick Harper. He has a book called Daemonic Reality, not demonic, but daemonic reality. And he kind of helped me wrap my head around this idea that that things can be sort of both apparitional and physical, maybe not at the same time. It's a concept that we need to start embracing because, I think it applies to UFOs. I think it applies to ghosts. I think it applies to Bigfoot. Ghosts, the old way they used to hunt ghosts, they put powder out and wait for footprints for ghosts. That's not that different than waiting for the footprints to appear, in the mud in the woods for Bigfoot. The strange lights appear around all this stuff. There's commonalities that weave through this stuff, and it's a really, really difficult thing. It's almost like a Zen cone. What is the sound of one hand clapping, or if a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it? The idea that these things could be apparitional and physical at times it's a struggle. And now I don't know if that means they're coming from another dimension. I think, you get into science fiction thought when you start laying that stuff down. But I just don't think they're here in a physical sense all the time. If they were, I think we'd have one. We'd have a body.
So it's an interdimensional thing to you. That would make sense for them to disappear a lot, but
yeah. I mean, and people have said they've seen them disappear. There's witnesses that said that they saw them on one side of the street, disappeared, and it appeared on the other side of the street and kept on walking. There's people have seen them literally morph from these balls of light into hairy creatures. There's just a ton of bizarre stuff out there. So, my thinking now is there, these wild men archetypes have lived next to humans and continue to for as long as we've been. As the first time we established civilization, these wild men were in our legends and so forth, and I've always lived in the wilderness beside us. And I think probably every culture in the world has a wild man. I'm sure maybe there's one that doesn't, but certainly the vast majority of them have these wild man stories. So whatever it is, it's always been with us. Now, is it part of us? Is it like I don't know. My gut says it's these nature spirits. It's something to do with nature spirits or spirits of place. And sometimes they manifest and most often they don't. Most Bigfoot encounters, people don't see creatures. They'll hear stuff, they'll smell stuff, they'll get stuff thrown at them, etc. Which all happens in poltergeist activity, by the way. Stone throwing, bad smells, weird unknown language. That all happens in poltergeist stuff. So by far, most Bigfoot encounters, people don't see a creature. So I think it rarely manifests physically. And again, this is just my working theory. I could be proven wrong, but and I think for my money, I think they have something to do with like what we used to call in the old days, forest spirits or something.
Yeah. Well, I also think that you yourself, you have to have your own experience. I mean, it could just be one of those cases that a lot of people have their own experiences and never get to express or prove it. That happens. Mm-hmm. And you just have to make up your mind. Are you going to be the person that speaks up about it and let the rest of the world put the tinfoil hat on you? Or are you going to keep it to yourself? There's a lot of people that I wonder how much or how many people actually see these things and don't speak up because they're afraid of what people are going to think,
Oh, geez. When I do paranormal conventions, every convention I do, I know, and it's usually a good story too, but I'll see a guy or a woman and they'll kind of come over and they'll look at my books and they'll pick them up and flip them over and read the back, and then they'll leave and then they'll come back and they'll look at them again. And then, they might leave again, but eventually I'll see them kind of standing about 10 feet away from my table and they'll be like shuffling their feet and looking down. And then they'll approach slowly and they'll wait till everybody's, no one else is at the table, and they'll come over and they'll say, do you really think they're real? And then I'll say, yeah, we can give all my caveats, and then they'll say, well, I saw one, and they'll tell me the story. And, usually, like I said, usually they're really great stories too. And very often I cannot get them to come on the podcast, or I can't get them to give me any more details. They want to get their story out. They want to tell somebody who's sympathetic, and that's the end of it. And a lot of these people have told me that they've never told anyone, or that maybe they've only told their kids or something. And that it might be the last time they ever tell it. It's just people don't want to be labeled as, weirdo or crazy or whatever else.
Yeah, I get that. But it's better than, I think, well, you got two things to worry about. In my mind, you start worrying about what people think, especially when it comes to your experiences. What you ought to be worried about is, what are these people actually trying to do to you? I'm just saying, like, there's people in your life that are trying to do paranormal things to you that you don't even know about. Or like, it's hard to even trust people, and you're worried about if they think you're crazy or something. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Who really cares? I've had a couple of experiences. I've never saw a Bigfoot in my life, man. I've heard a couple of weird things in the woods, and growing up in Arkansas, I've seen some kind of weird looking creatures, like maybe crossbred fish or something, but not, I don't know. I just have never seen or heard anything like that. And the one place I did go to in Arkansas, that thing happened that I told you about. So you kind of understand why I have a skepticism. Like, I believe that there's something to it. There's something going on for sure. But is it like a classic Harry and the Hendersons Bigfoot, or like that style? Or do we have a good enough look at these things to actually know what they look like from head to toe yet?
I mean, well, the witness accounts are all over the board with that stuff. That's the other thing. If it is a natural creature, it can't decide what it wants to look like. Some people have them having baboon faces, other people have them human faces, and everywhere in between. Sizes ranging from 3 foot on up to 12 foot plus. It's make up your mind thing. What are you going to look like?
Yeah. But the walking legs, that's something. I mean, what is the weirdest thing you've ever seen move? Like, actually move in front of your eyes and with your own vision?
Like I said, I guess that if that wasn't a dude in a tracksuit, which I really don't think it was. And again, what was it then? I don't know. Was that a ghost in the woods? They're supposed to be ghosts around there. I have no clue what that was.
Right.
Maybe that. I've seen the lights a lot, and the last time we saw the lights, they came right up to us. It was really cool because I took a friend he calls himself he's a skeptical naturalist, I think he calls himself. He's really into hiking and really into nature and stuff. He's interested in this stuff, but he's like, I don't know. Like, he's the first one to tell me whatever I heard was an owl. He's that guy, and I'm saying no, it wasn't an owl, and he's like, you heard an owl. But so I took him to this place where we had been seeing the lights, and we saw him. And he was blown away because he was like, I don't know what to say about this. I don't know how to explain this. And, they wwere coming right up to us. They were acting differently than I'd ever seen them act before. Very almost playful, almost like they were interested in us. Little ping pong ball size orbs were just coming right to we were standing at the edge of the woods, and they were just coming right up. And this guy was like, he actually dropped to his knees and tried to grab one at one point, and he just keeps looking at me. He's like, "What are they? What is this?" I said, "I don't know, dude. That's but they're there." So those are really weird.
That's pretty trippy, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what they are, but we've seen them quite a few places. These weird lights. The old timers called them witch fire. We just call them weird lights, orbs, whatever.
Well, I actually saw a ghost here for the first. Like a moving, not just a blob or something out of the corner of my eye, but a body that appeared and disappeared.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right in the road here. It's the first time in my life I've ever seen anything like that. And, it only takes one, right? It just takes one experience for you to shake up your whole paradigm, your world, everything that you believe, your structure and map and model of reality. Just one event.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when that happens, I don't know about you, but I always question if I'm losing my mind. Like, am I crazy? Did I eat something, or could I be going senile? For some reason, I just want to go back to, I have to look at the rational stuff. You know what I'm saying, Tim? I got to look at that first for some reason.
Oh, sure.
Because everybody always goes straight, not everybody, but a lot of people in this community go straight to the most fantastical thing. And it's like, well, what if it's somewhere in the middle? Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I even play with these ideas. Like, I wonder if it's not all an expression of the same thing, that we're just, in a sense, like, to use a video game term, we're like kind of skinning in different ways. Like you saw a ghost, maybe the next person would have seen a gray alien, and it's the same thing. It's just, we're just skinning it, according to whatever, subconscious thing that we're laying over top of it. Yeah. Again, I don't know. It's just sort of an idea I'm playing with, just because of how much similarity there is across the board with all these different phenomena.
Yeah, exactly. Man, time is flying by here, man. We're at the last break already. You believe that?
Wow. Check it out.
Crazy. It's crazy. We're already at the last break. I don't know if it's because I took the show down to 2 hours, but it is pretty nutty. Anyways, we'll be right back. More Lighting the Void coming up. 1-800-588-0335 is a call number. If you want to go to our chat room, you can go to thefringe.fm/chat room. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Tragedy befalls a man. He comes up with a diabolical and sinister plan.
Nothing will stop us, darling. Nothing can stop us now.
With the help of those who are not what they seem. His tale of terror will be told this Halloween. One night only. October the 31st. Be there and be scared.
This portion of the show is being brought to you by Ed's Porno Pet Shop. This week featuring the all-new line of peekaboo lingerie for sexy gold.
This is Gigi from Shift Happens. And holy shit, you're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM. Hey, don't you dare do that
I'm Greg Lewis. You're listening to The Fringe FM.
I'm Ryan Gable, and I want to remind you to keep your radio, phone, tablet, or computer tuned to the Fringe FM, and visit the website thefringe.fm to listen to the entire lineup of shows. You can also catch my broadcast, The Secret Teachings, Monday through Friday, beginning at 12 a.m. midnight U.S. Pacific Time, right here on the Fringe FM.
Hey, Fringe FM listeners. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
What do you think would happen if you bring the Fringe FM together with leading voices in the paranormal and unexplained? What if no topic were off limits, from cryptids to conspiracies to astrology, psychic abilities, and even ufology? And what would happen if you broadcast this event in crystal clear video, streaming live around the world and allowing viewers like you to interact with their favorite presenters? Then you would have created the monster that is the Fringe Fest 2020. 2 nights only, Friday, October 30th and Saturday, October 31st. For more information and to get your tickets, visit thefringefest.com. That's thefringefest.com. Trick or truth? The only thing scarier is not being there. That's Friday, October 30th and Saturday, October 31st. Get your tickets now before they sell out at thefringefest.com.
This portion of the show is being brought to you by Head & Boulders, the all-natural shampoo for people who want to wash their hair the old-fashioned way by going down to the river and banging their heads against a rock. That's Head & Boulders, now available in granite or our original limestone scent.
That Head and Boulders shampoo. What do you say, Tim? What do you mean? What are you talking about?
I'm trying to think.
The Wacky Packs? Sorry.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear you for a second. That the sound was messed up. So they're 70s. How old are you, by the way? You're talking about Wacky Packs in the 70s, man. I was born in 82. I guess I missed out on that one.
I was born in 70.
Ah, okay. Tell me about these Wacky Packs then, because I don't know what in the world you're talking about.
They would be like, they're like little cartoon parodies of like existing like cereals or Jello or whatever, but they'd always change them to some kind of like something else. Like Head and Boulders would be a perfect one for that. But I'm trying to think of some of the other ones they had. I can't remember. I don't know.
You think I'm judging you right now or something? Because I'm not. Like I had the same stuff. We had all that. I missed that. I missed the 80s. 80s was a good time, but I'm kind of jealous
these were
of the
like,
70s.
Like Garbage Pail Kids before Garbage Pail Kids.
Oh yeah, it was good times, right? But speaking of that, like some of your artwork is pretty epic, man. I got to tell you, I'm pretty impressed with it. So you should, Did people ever offer to like buy that stuff from you? I bet they do.
Yeah, I do all right.
Yeah, I bet you do. Yeah, so like, what got you into that? Like that. So the cover of your new book, is that something that those pictures there that people describe, or is that kind of like your imagination?
No, that's sort of just something I sort of came up with. Are we back on the air?
Yeah, we're back on the air.
Oh, sorry, dude. I was sort of it's getting late. Sort of phased out there. Sorry about that, everybody.
I told you the veil's getting thin. It's a weird time.
Yeah. That like the cover of the book would have been just something, I just sort of came up with this idea of these spirit in the woods or something like this. But a lot of it is some of the Bigfoot stuff is based off of maybe witnesses I might have heard on Sasquatch Chronicles or someone I talked to. Most of it is sort of my imagining, what a graphic representation of what people talk about often. So it's not exactly illustrating like a specific story, but it's sort of like trying to capture the theme of what people talk about.
Yeah, well, I want to tell you, man, that it's not easy to go out here. Like I commend you for doing this, because right now we're in a time where everybody's, focused on super earthly, rational type things. I actually wouldn't mind just listening to some Bigfoot stories again for once. We don't have to listen to all this stuff. So you're bringing a lot of cool stuff to people. Even though, let's say, for instance, it doesn't really matter what you believe. The idea is to keep the mind open to new things other than what you've been told that what's out there is in reality. It's not anything close to what's actually reality. We probably, in my opinion, I think we see probably like 1/100th of what reality is, even physical reality. We just haven't tuned in with our consciousness yet. And I think a lot of this stuff that people are seeing has everything to do with conscious capability. That's
Yes,
what I think.
I would agree. Yeah, it's something to do with us and how we experience the world. You know, I don't know if it's as simple as something reaching out and trying to tell us there's more than just, you know, Newtonian physics and you know, what we think we can touch around us, or if there's something else going on, if there's, you know, an agenda of some sort behind it. I do not know, but I would agree. It's something to do with consciousness woven in with this.
Yeah, because maybe some people can see certain things that other people can't. I've always thought that. I've always thought that could be a possibility, that some people have. Yeah.
Yeah, but, I mean, I talked to so many witnesses who'll be like, you know, I woke up, I saw this, you know, weird thing in my bedroom, whatever it is, shadow person or flannel man or whatever one of these entities, and or gray aliens, whatever, and I couldn't wake my wife up. You know, I was shaking her and shaking her and shaking her, and you know, yelling and screaming, and I couldn't wake her up. And had one recently where a guy said his wife elbowed him, literally said, "Get up," and he got up, and there was a gray alien in the room, and she went back to sleep. Like, so it's almost like sometimes it's not for her, you know, it was for him. And there seems to be an element of that, you know, where it's like, well, it's not for you, it's for them. I was driving with a guy one night home from work at like 3 a.m. We were coming back from a job we were doing, and he, I mean, we were both tired, but you know, he was driving, and I look over in the side of the field, and this whole field just lit up bright as day, and it's kind of halfway to the horizon, say, and you know, this field surrounded by trees and stuff. And I told the guys, look at that, look, and it was like he was in a daze. It's like he's just went, yeah. And I was like, no, Don,
you know, like it was nothing to him, right? Like, yeah, pretty lights.
I'm like, what is that? What's doing that? And, you know, and I was ready to go, you know, check it out, but he was having none of it. He's like, yeah, and just kept driving. And it was just this really, really weird, you know, moment where it just wasn't for him. It was for me, I guess.
I've had that happen to me a few times where I've seen stuff or even talked about things. I still think it's conscious. It's like a conscious, cognitive thing. Like a literal UFO could come down and fly right in front of them, and you could say, "Man, what in the hell was that?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, that was kind of crazy, but how about them jets?" You know,
yep.
Like what?
Yeah.
You know, like you're not going to question that. And I don't think their mind. I don't think they actually pick up on it. It's kind of scary thought, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think there could be people walking around that are just kind of like bots or something. They don't even have souls. They're just going through the motions.
They're NPCs.
Yeah.
I call them.
Yeah. They're just going through the motions. They're here just filling space, you know, playing characters or something. And you think everybody's just like you, or they got some kind of, they got a soul, but they really don't. They're just bodies. That's it. That's a terrible thing to say, isn't it, Tim? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get dark on you, brother.
But I have to admit, I often call people NPCs.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of us in this community feel that way. That's why we come to the Fringe or places like this, because we don't fit in with the rest of the world where everything's just do your job, don't do nothing else, think about Democrats or Republicans, argue with a spouse, go to sleep. Like that's that's robotic, I think.
I've wondered if I could be happy. Like if I was one of those people that just like, okay, it's, you know, Thursday night. What are my shows? What shows do I watch on Thursday?
Yeah.
And that be that. And then, you know, go to work and come home and repeat. I don't think I could. I really don't think I could. I'm just not wired that way.
You think people that they do this stuff so much that I think it's like some type of repeated program that any type of outside event that happens to their consciousness or any type of outside conversation that might be something truly amazing, because they're going through the motions so much that it just doesn't register, or they're robots, one of the two.
There are people who are deeply affected by it negatively and positively. And it tends to be those people. They see a UFO and it changes their life. They become very, very interested in, much deeper stuff. Maybe they take up meditation and get into, more kind of new age kind of stuff. And suddenly their whole world changes. And there are other people who it just ruins them. It just completely ruins them because it has invaded this nice, neat little world where they just had this worldview that just didn't allow for it, and this comes in and just crushes them. And then you have people who see it once and then just put it away and never talk about it again until they come to a paranormal conference and see my books or something.
Yeah, right. Come talk to me. Everybody asks me, like, you should write a book. You should write a book. I'm like, I don't want to write a book. I want to talk to people. Like, there's also this paranormal thing, like going through the motions too. Like, because you're a radio host, they expect you to do all this stuff and write a book and become some type of authority figure. I don't want to do that. I just want to ask people questions. I want to figure out what's going on, right? Like, and I'm sure in your community, you do write books and stuff, and they probably, it's like they try to get you to conform to what they're thinking all the time or what they want you to do. I don't know. I see that in this community too. Not as bad as everything else, but it's here, believe it or not. In the Bigfoot community, they have the two sides of people that feel like they should shoot Bigfoot and others that wouldn't. And that gets into a big debate, You ever listen to that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I always say, I wouldn't recommend it because it doesn't tend to turn out well for the people that shoot them. But even if you do shoot them, I don't think you're going to end up with a body. Like
I said, disappear or something.
They always disappear.
That's
there's 100% of the time they disappear.
Yeah.
Like the Minnesota Iceman said, the people claim that there was an original body, and I don't know if you know that story, but it's basically a thing in ice that they were showing around at carnivals and shopping malls and stuff in the late 60s and early 70s. And a number of people said that there was a real creature in there originally, and then it was replaced with a dummy. Now, people argue that. People say it was a dummy the whole time, but my point is it doesn't matter. If there was a real creature, it's disappeared. Like, supposedly the guy said some wealthy collector bought it and has it in a cold storage warehouse or whatever, but it doesn't matter. All these stories of old giants in the old newspapers that they say the Smithsonian Institution comes and takes the bones away. Some of that's yellow journalism. Some of it was just a good story for the papers. But, again, if it was true, it doesn't matter because those bones are gone. If it doesn't matter if, in the Bigfoot stories, it's either a black van, a black helicopter comes and takes the body, or another creature comes out of the woods and reclaims the body. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how that's taken. The fact is they're gone. We can't access them, whether it's some secret government organization or another creature or, disappeared by magic, whatever, take your pick. It really doesn't matter. The fact is they're gone. We cannot have access to these bodies, so it doesn't matter. The original Patterson-Gimlin film, the big film with Patty, the one that everybody knows, shows the creature walking across at Bluff Creek, California. Yeah. The original film's gone. No one has the original film. We have copies of it and copies of those copies.
Yeah, that is
the original film.
Yeah,
the original film canister is gone. And there was a guy who claimed he was the guy in the suit in that film. Now, we can agree that film either shows a man in a suit or a real creature. There's no in between. It's one or the other. I don't think it's a man in a suit, but I wasn't there. Who knows? But supposedly the guy who said he was in the suit came forward and 10 years ago or something like this. Well, he can't produce the suit. The suit's lost, according to him.
Everything's lost. Nothing's yeah. That's frustrating.
Yeah. So everything just goes with this stuff. Not everything, but often the evidence just happens to disappear. It happens to go away. What's that about? There's something weird going on.
But no, don't just hear me out, because I know what some people are thinking when you say that. some people are going, yeah, there is something weird going on. Bigfoot don't exist, right? That's what they're saying. And what do you say to that when people say, do people even say that to you? Are they afraid to say that to you?
Yeah. More than ghosts and more than UFOs, people like Bigfoot is like considered by many people to be a really ridiculous thing. And I've had people, several people tell me like, hey, I'm willing to, go on ghost hunts with you. I'm willing to talk about UFOs, but what's your interest in Bigfoot? And then usually when, if I can sit them down and get them interested enough to get beyond this idea of a monkey in the woods, they start like kind of their eyebrows will raise up a little bit and they'll get a little bit more interested. But, I've had several people tell me, a lot of hunters tell me like they're not out there. I've been hunting my whole life. They're not out there. What can I say other than, I've talked to so many people, grown men who are shaking and crying as they're telling me their story of seeing these things. They've seen something. Even my wife was highly skeptical of this, and she came to a couple of these events with me and saw these guys, talking to me, and it really changed her opinion. She said, I don't know what he saw, but he saw something, and he saw something that affected him very deeply, and I can't ask for anything more from a skeptic. You know what I mean? Because like that's as open-minded as you can get, I think. Yeah. So I don't blame people for I've also had hunters tell me that there aren't mountain lions in Pennsylvania, for instance. Well, I've seen one.
I was about to say that because if that's there's been we've have black panthers in Arkansas. They've spotted them on game cameras, and a couple. I've never ran into one in the woods in my entire life. Does that mean they don't exist?
Right.
So I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So, but I mean, there's not much I can say. I can't convince anybody that this stuff is real. But I'm convinced, and that's the other thing when I talk about this stuff being apparitional or being like an archetype and stuff. I think people think that I don't think it's real. No. I've talked to so many witnesses. Whatever they saw was there when they saw it, and it scared them, and it affected them deeply, and it left footprints and maybe even hair and scat behind. So they're there. They're just not normal. Whatever by normal, they're not like any other animal on the planet. They're not like us. Whatever they are, they're just really different.
Do you feel like we'll ever find them? We'll ever get to see one?
I don't think we get to do that. I think whatever this is, they almost seem to be able to read our mind in a sense, and they're, no pun intended, they're several steps ahead of us, and I don't think we get to figure it out. Honestly, I wish we would. I'd love to, before my life was up, I'd love to know the answer to it. But like I said, they've been with us for the entire history of mankind, and we haven't figured it out yet. So I don't think we get to figure it out.
Oh man, well, it's good we got people like you out there still talking about it, writing about it, trying to figure this stuff out. Because then you got people like Joe Rogan to go out. They don't help the community at all. People don't need to you shouldn't come to the paranormal community and expect mainstream society to take you seriously anyways, because they're not going to. So if you want to impress those people, you're at the wrong place.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't impress. Even with UFOs, they got the government saying, they don't really call them UFOs. They call them UAPs and all these other different names. And they got videos of them just breaking the laws of physics, basically. And, you go down the street and you talk to somebody about it and they're like, yeah, gray aliens, whatever, man. Well, what about Trump and COVID? I'm like, you are brainwashed, dude. You're a lab rat. That's the way I feel about it. That's terrible, though.
It's Well, I mean, the UFO stuff. I think if I had to bet, the government doesn't know.
They don't know squat.
Yeah,
exactly. They either have the technology and they've been messing with it for a while already, or they don't know jack either.
Yeah, and they're I think when they're doing these programs where they're saying I think they're crowdsourcing information. I think they're worried about maybe the Russians or China or somebody having technology better than theirs, and they want to crowdsource sightings of different weird craft and see what they're popping up, and they're trying to. That's probably where their interest lies.
Man, it is cool talking to you. You know, one of these days you'll have to take me. You have to take me out in the woods, and so you can show me how these skulls keep just rolling up on you. Do they roll up on you when you're with people, or is it just when you're by yourself?
No, it's been with people. It's and they'll just be there in the path or whatever. So, yeah, it doesn't seem to matter who I'm with, and in fact, like the dude I do most of my investigations with, he's started to find them separate from me now. So he's finding them like impaled on branches and stuff in areas separate from me. So it seems to have transferred a bit.
Well, that's all right. What do you got coming up next, though, man? What are you thinking about doing now? Thinking about doing another book?
I just released this book of my illustrations. It's called Apparitions, Illustrations of the Other. It's got, basically different chapters. It's got, a lot of Bigfoot illustrations. Did stuff like Mothman and werewolves, and a big section on ghosts and stuff like that. You got to come to me to get that. It's not on Amazon, so you can find that at strangefamiliars.com, or you can shoot me an email. All the contact information at strangefamiliars.com goes to me. And then next month, Where the Footprints End, Volume 2 should drop, and that's a book I've written with my co-author Joshua Cutchin. We did Volume 1 earlier this year. It's all the weird stuff associated with Bigfoot. It's high strangeness and the Bigfoot phenomena. And we got 2 thick books on just all the weird stuff: Bigfoot and UFOs, Bigfoot and ghosts, Bigfoot and witches, and Bigfoot and disappearing trackways.
Man, why didn't you tell me? I could have talked to you about that all night for sure. You see did people see witches in Bigfoot?
There's a hearty connection between Bigfoot and witches, including many descriptions of old world witches being, big and hairy. Often witches' familiars are described in the old world as being hairy monkeys with bird feet, which if you think about bird feet, they would appear to leave a 3-toed track, which may or may not explain, some of these 3-toed Bigfoot tracks. There's a very, very hearty connection between witches and Bigfoot.
Damn. I didn't even know that. That is pretty interesting, actually. But to get some witches, from here on out, I'm going to ask all the witches that come on the show if they've had a scene.
Well, this is
Bigfoot.
like traditional witch stuff. This is like, old folklore stories. So, some of the modern witches don't like the idea of being called, hairy.
Well, you don't know who's a witch anymore for real compared to those kind of folklore witches, right? Like, I don't know. I don't know what's what anymore, man. All I know is it's getting close to Halloween and weird stuff's going to happen. That's what I know. It always happens to me during this time of year. And it's cool. Like, I think you're kind of like kicking off this whole thing starting this weekend into next week. It's just going to get cooler. And thanks for coming on the show again, man.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, if you ever want to go on a Bigfoot excursion with a guy from Arkansas, just hit me up. I'll see if I can put you on something down there. Like a buck deer, maybe. Deer or something.
Once this COVID stuff lets up, I got to do some traveling. There's too many places in the country I need to hit. So
you and me both, right? Let's all go have an event. We'll all go have our own like Burning Man or something, and just get the hell out of here. That'd be awesome, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Listen. Yeah, thanks for coming on the broadcast again, Tim. It's good to have you.
Absolutely.
Well, we're going to we'll put all the links there, you guys, for his stuff too. Expandedperspectives.com is one of the websites to go to. Go check that one out as well. And strangefamiliars.com. Really cool guy. It's cool to have him back on the show. Guys, make sure that you sign up for the Fringe Fest. Tickets are limited. Tomorrow night, I don't know if we're doing open lines. I think that's what we're going to do is open lines. I have to check the schedule again. But next week's going to be kind of crazy, I got to tell you. So I don't know. I might have to take one night off next week to get ready for the Fringe Fest. But other than that, everything's still cool. We're going to roll out of here. The Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable's up next. You guys have a good night. We'll be back tomorrow night. Good night.